Hey everybody, welcome back. It's been a while since my last upload. Work has been crazy busy. Combined with everything else I have to do, I haven't had a lot of time to make videos recently. Love making videos though, but I don't really get paid for making them, so I had to take the back seat for a while. Anyways, let's get right into it. I got a lot of ripe plantain the other day. I love plantain, especially fried. That's my favorite way to do it. But on the off chance I end up with a couple overripe plantain, which hardly ever happen because I usually fry all of them before that happen, I like to make plantain tarts. Plantain tarts are a type of Jamaican pastry which is filled with plantain and baked. Super simple. I didn't really grow up eating plantain tarts much. The first time I had it, I made it myself, even though they are supposed to be really popular. These are really satisfying, especially on rainy days like today, and the shopkeeper lady down the road always asks me to make them for her. Yes, Miss Mary, this is a shout out. So for the dough, you can use puff or flaky pastry, but the most common way to make this is with shortcut pastry, and that's what I'm going to use. Shortcut pastry is made from flour and fat at a 2-to-1 ratio by weight. Just enough cold water to bring everything together. So I'll start with 8 ounces of AP flour. Now I'll add 2 ounces of roughly chopped cold margarine. This is mostly for flavor. And 2 ounces of roughly chopped cold shortening. Next, we'll combine everything while trying to break up the fats. I probably should have chopped these finer so this step would be easier. So 8 ounces AP flour to 4 ounces of fat, that's a 2-to-1 ratio. You could use any other solid fat such as butter for example, and you could use a single fat, but margarine is traditional and it's going to give us that traditional flavor, and shortening is going to help to improve the texture of the crust. So you should mix it together well until it resembles breadcrumbs or cornmeal. Add just enough ice cold water to help bring it together. Cold water stops the fat from melting and dissolving into the flour. The separated fat is going to create that nice texture short crust pastry has, and it will be kind of flaky, which is a plus. You don't want to overwork the dough. As soon as it comes together, you should stop kneading. You can still see those layers of fat. I didn't add any salt, mostly because the margarine I'm using is extremely salty, but generally add a pinch of salt. This makes a world of difference with the flavor of the crust. Forming up into a ball, wrap and place in the fridge while we work on the filling. For the plantain tart, we need overripe plantains. This is too ripe to fry and it's almost gone bad, but it's extremely sweet, and at this point it's starting to ferment, which adds a nice flavor to our tarts. This is going to be boiled, but first I'm just going to peel it and cut it into large pieces. Looking back, I should have used a lot less water because some of the flavor will leach out into the water. Also, I could have spiced up the water a bit with some cinnamon and thing, but it still turned out delicious. But next time that's what I'll do and see how that goes. We want the plantain to cook right through. This will take around 6 minutes. Then we will remove them. Next, I'm going to mash the plantain. I have this masher, but a fork could do the same work. Throw in a piece of butter. That's about a tablespoon. Butter is optional, but if you're using it, make sure you add it to the plantain when it's hot. Next, I'll add a few tablespoons of sugar. If your plantain are sweet enough, you might need less sugar, but give it a little taste first. A teaspoon of cinnamon, a tablespoon of vanilla, salt to taste, and red food coloring. And mash all that together. I'm keeping this traditional, and red food coloring is always used. Without the food coloring, the filling can look very unattractive. I think I'll just use a fork to finish up. Just mix everything together until it's homogeneous. Done. This is still hot, so I'm just going to let it cool while I grab the pastry dough from the fridge. I'm going to roll this out, but I have to ensure there's enough flour on the work surface, the dough and rolling pin. Apply light even pressure and roll away from you in one direction. You want this a few millimeters in thickness. This is too big to work with, so I'm cutting it in half. I'll rest the next half in the fridge. If it gets sticky, just dust with a little flour. So there's a couple ways to fill the dough. First, I'm going to show you how to do those triangular plantain tarts. To get triangles, we first need some squares. One long cut down the middle. 3 even cut across is going to give us 8 squares. Next, add about 1.5 tablespoons of the now cool filling to the center of each square. I'm going to remove that one. They don't seal so well when they are messy. Now, make a diagonal fold with the dough by connecting the 2 ends of the square so we create a triangle. Let's make a few. Our finished product should look something like this. After I make the triangle, I'm going to use a fork to seal the edges. Then punch some holes in the top of the tart so it can breathe while it bakes. Now let's try another shape. We need some flour to prevent sticking. Next, we roll out the dough. Ensure your dough is kept cool, so place whatever extra bits and pieces in the fridge that you're not using right away. This way the fats stay solid and we end up with those nice textures we are looking for. Next, remove excess edges to create a rough rectangle. Then divide to make 2 large rectangles. Place the plantain filling on one side of the rectangle at intervals. Leave enough room for the filling to spread. Something like this is fine. Next, place the other sheet of dough over the filling. Press gently to remove excess air from between the dough. I have this neat pastry reel. I bought it to make patty some long years ago. I need to make patties more often. Cuts the dough and it seals the edge at the same time, so it's really convenient. I'm making squares, so just cut across, making sure you cut through the dough without filling. After we cut out the tarts, just go over them and cut off the ragged edges with the pastry wheel. And now you have neat squares. Make sure you punch some holes in the tart so it doesn't pop in the oven. Get those out of the way while we work on the final shape. Personally, this shape is the easiest one to do. Roll out the dough in an oblong shape, Place your filling off center like this with a little room from the edge on each other. Next, fold over the broader side of the dough over the filling and pat out any extra air. And we'll use a pastry wheel to cut out half circles. These are typically how plantain tarts look. You could use a knife or a pizza cutter to cut out the tart, then seal it with a fork like the first tarts we made. Use a fork to make some holes. We have a runt, probably more delicious than the rest. I'm going to use an oven rack wrapped in foil to bake the tarts. This way I can bake more at a time because I'm using my toaster oven. Place on all the tarts. At this point you can preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My toaster oven gets there really quick. Next, let's do an egg wash. We only really need one egg for this. Give it a real good whisk. The longer we whisk, the easier it will be to brush onto our tarts. Next, go through and brush each tart. Make sure the entire surface is coated with the egg wash. This will help them to bake up nice and brown. Otherwise they look pale and bland. This is optional, but you could sprinkle over some granulated sugar before we bake. Then we'll bake these in the preheated oven for about 15 minutes. About 15 minutes later and they are done. Smells like a pastry shop in my kitchen. Nice. Found the runt. The texture of the crust is something else. Crispy and kind of flaky, and the flavor is just wow. So there we have it. Plantain tart. This is also optional, especially if you used granulated sugar before, but you could dust it with some powdered sugar. It looks real nice. Oh my god, that tastes good. Really think it would have been overly sweet, but it's just right. This one was super simple, so please give it a try and leave a comment.